People keep asking me if I'm running for president, and I don't know, I might. I'm serious, I don't know, I might, because people keep asking me to do it.
Babe, wake up. Don Lemon is being delusional again. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, your home for independent and nonpartisan commentary and analysis of news, media, internet insanity, and more. We haven't talked about him in a while, but we are going to check in with one of the most noxious and, I don't know, like maddeningly arrogant and condescending figures in all of media. And that is, of course, former, I believe he got fired, but former CNN star Don Lemon, who's now actually a depressingly successful YouTuber and podcaster. But he's going viral once again for something he said that is just like so childish and extreme that you kind of have to see it to believe it. So without further ado, we're going to watch this first clip of Don Lemon ranting about MAGA. And then the second clip we've got here from this podcast he did is just like peak delusion. Like find somebody as delusionally delusional about themselves as this, and then you run away. I don't know. That made no sense, but you'll understand why I'm so bamboozled by this man in just a moment. Let's watch.
You think that once Donald Trump is gone, it's the end of MAGA? I don't know if it's the end of that sort of attitude. I mean, the MAGA is the closest thing to the modern version of a Nazi party. This is America's version. It's the closest thing without the Holocaust and all that stuff. That's
what? How can you say that? MAGA is, and guys, I'm literally not a MAGA supporter. I'm critical of them on economics, on government, on corruption, on so many things. But how can you say they're like the same thing as the Nazi party without the Holocaust and all that stuff? You mean the most important part? The most worst. Oh, that'd be like saying, oh, you know, she's just like Helen Keller without the deaf or blind part. What do you mean, Don Lemon? How is that a real sentence you just said, unironically, without realizing how insane it is? It's so interesting watching these people who, and you see this with Tucker and some others as well. It's not just, you know, in this case, a left-leaning personality. You realize now, we thought they were bad when they were in these corporate media jobs, like Lemon at CNN or Tucker at Fox, where he was so demagogic at times and did some absurd stuff. But then you realize once they go independent, oh, wait, they were crazier and they were being held in check by those networks and those producers and everything. And they go off on their own. You end up with this. I mean, that is just an insane take to drop. But here you go. Just another day that ends in Y in Lemon Land. And yes, yeah, and yet he's like a massively successful YouTuber. I hate it here. Okay, let's keep listening, I guess.
That sort of mindset. That's what MAGA is, because most intelligent people or logical people, when they get new information, and if that information is negative or not factual, then they change their minds. They go, oh, well, I wish I had known better, and now that I have this information, then I can readjust. No matter what no matter how many facts and how much information you give them about this presidency, about the policies, they don't change their minds, because they're really not voting for the price of eggs. They're voting for white supremacy.
Oh my God. Bruh. Yeah, all those Hispanics that voted for Trump this time around, they're all just voting for white supremacy. It's like so unserious and ridiculous. Sure, there are some racists who probably think Trump is their guy, but that was not the animating factor of the 2020 election. Anyway, so much to unpack there. I actually agree that a lot of diehard Trump people don't, you know, change their opinion with new information or new facts, but that's not a MAGA thing. Unfortunately, that is a human thing. It's called cognitive dissonance, confirmation bias, echo chambers, and media bubbles. And he comes off as so smug and condescending. He's like, you know, us intelligent, sophisticated people, we change our minds with new information. Name one thing you've changed your mind on. First off, you just went from Blue Anon, wine mob, panderer to an even more obnoxious version of that since going independent. And that's a very real issue. I mean, how many freaking progressives are still saying, no, trans kids must have puberty blockers. It's life-saving care, even though that's absolutely not true or correct. And the evidence has totally disproven that. You should have reevaluated your whole position on it, but you cling to it because of bias, because of cognitive dissonance, because of echo chambers, because of tribal and partisan loyalty. Yes, that's just a human problem. That's not a uniquely MAGA issue, though of course they are prone to that. And part of the problem is they don't hear about some of the bad things that have happened under this presidency. If you're just a Fox News viewer, you've probably never heard about the Trump administration enriching itself off crypto scams and basically selling meetings to the people who buy the most of Trump's shit coins, right? You just don't, it doesn't get into your information feed. And that's a real problem, but it doesn't mean you're like evil racist cultist or whatever. I don't know, man. He is just... It's like when he ranted about like white men being uniquely evil and dangerous, and then he's like, his husband is one. I'm like, what? Why does he have to be so toxic? He's just the gay male version of Jasmine Crockett. Really, the most like rage bait, obnoxious, condescending insult and dismissals. How does he know? When was the last time he sat down with a MAGA person and spoke to them and actually listened? Highly doubt he has done anything of the sort recently. Anyway, I'll let him finish here, and then we'll get to the part where he's just delusional beyond belief. But also, you know what? These days, you never can say never. So anyway, we'll get to that in a second. But first, let's watch the rest of this clip.
They're voting for power. They're voting to have a preeminent voice. They're afraid of, they've been co-opted by many people in the Republican Party and Donald Trump to think that their failures are due to something else, the other, the black person, the woman, the Latino, the immigrant, the migrant. That person is taking your job. That person is the reason that you don't have the financial or career success that you think that you should have. It's because of them. We want to take our country back. That's what MAGA is.
I mean, there's some of that sentiment is a part of MAGA, but it's not. The debate over whether immigrants are taking jobs or not is like an economic debate. And there is some evidence for unskilled, like low wage labor that increases in immigration do harm their economic prospects. That's not a crazy thought to have, even if you, like I, believe that legal immigration is a net positive for the economy. There's obviously some trade-offs and some people who get left behind. And he's acting like they're all just hallucinating that. And then also, he's acting like, oh, it's just a total boogeyman that anyone else is harming you. And it's like, okay, well, part of it was about border security and about millions of people unvetted coming into the country through the porous border. That was a huge part of the Trump phenomenon, a response to that under Joe Biden. And that was real. You can't, like, you could disagree with some of the things Trump's doing on immigration now, but you can't deny the fact that millions of people came into the country who were not supposed to, who were not vetted. And like some people were murdered. Some people were killed. Some people were raped by illegal immigrants. That's not like crazy that people are concerned or fearful about that. That doesn't make them racist. It's just he doesn't give any credence or faith to any of the concerns, even though, you know, some of them are unfounded or what have you. It's like, it's just such a bad faith straw man. Does he know anybody who voted for Trump? Does he know that they're not like evil people? That they have some legitimate reasons to feel the way that they do, and they have some misconceptions or some biases like most of us do in different directions or different ways? It comes off as so incredibly condescending. And then also it takes no accountability for the fact that the Democrats and the Biden presidency went so poorly, and you had horrible inflation, and they gaslit you about the economy, and the border was a crisis, and they pushed like really toxic identity politics, and they stood by pretty radical social programs like transitioning kids. That is a great example actually of progressives doing the thing he complained about earlier, which is not adjusting your opinion to new information and new data and new evidence like European countries have, where, as studies increasingly showed and literature reviews, this was not an evidence-based or medically necessary or safe practice. They rolled it back. Democrats and progressives have stood 10 toes down on that for the most part, with some exceptions. So it's just like such a disingenuous and there's something so like, I don't know what the right word is, obnoxious about him. He's so condescending to these people. Like he's so infinitely wise. And the crazy thing is, if you followed him at all, he's like not some super sharp political analyst. he's really not. Like, I don't know. He went on a rant about the First Amendment that made no sense not too long ago. And it's like, you're a journalist and a decades-long veteran of politics, and you don't really know what that word means, the First Amendment. That was crazy. But apparently, Don Lemon believes he could be, possibly, the next president of the United States. Who knows? All right, let's listen to this clip where he is asked about his possible political future. Let's watch.
You have political ambition? Is that true?
No, but people keep asking me if I'm running for president. And I don't know, I might. I'm serious. I don't know. I might, because people keep asking me to do it, or if I'm going to do it. And I look around, and I see the folks who are, possibly in the running, and some of them are impressive. Many of them, most of them are not.
Sorry, I'm just going to hit the doubt button. He's like, people keep coming up to me and they all just keep begging and asking me to run for president, please. Are the people in the room with us? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure that it's happened. I know for a fact he has fans who love him, and it's a lot of like lived out wine moms, and I'm sure some of them have come up to it, but I feel like he's incredibly egotistical and he's probably overhyping it. Like, oh, just everywhere I go, I'm just swarmed with people begging me to run for president. And, I never would have considered it, but just the volume of people asking me to do it is so overwhelming that I have to give it some thought. I'm usually just so modest and would never think little old me could be president. But when just thousands upon thousands of people beg, it's like, please, what? 5 middle-aged white women came up to you and like, we're big fans, please run for president. And you're like, the people just clearly want this. Try it. I think he would crash out in a Democratic primary. I really do. I think he'd be a 2%er. Because he's also not nearly as famous as he thinks he is. That's the other piece of it. But who knows? I will say, you can't say it's impossible that he'd be president. Everyone would have said that about Donald Trump, right? It's like, we're in uncharted territory, folks. Like, we really are. So I guess you can't say never. Anyway, I hope that does not happen. Really, for all of our sakes. But, I could kind of see it. I wonder if he'll actually do it. God. That primary, 2028, guys, is going to be crazy. It really is. Because you're going to have all the different factions of the Democratic Party fighting for who's going to be the nominee and who they're going to rally around. And it's kind of a jump ball for the future of the Democratic Party. You're going to have like maybe a token moderate. You're going to have like a progressive establishment, kind of like a Gavin Newsom or maybe a Kamala Harris. And then you're going to have like a hard left. Like, you can't, like, kind of in the Zoran mold. He can't run for president. He wasn't born a U.S. citizen. Maybe AOC occupies that lane, but maybe someone even more radical than her. And the kind of Hassan Piker supporters and all of them will flood in support of that person. And maybe the donor class will find like an establishment candidate. They'll try to hide. And it's going to be a vicious catfight. And Don Lemon will just be in there and be like, by the way, white men are terrible. Love you, though, husband. Could be interesting. And then on the Republican side, you'll have something not too dissimilar where you're going to have competing factions and camps vying for the nomination. And it's going to be kind of a jump ball for the future of the GOP. So listen, excited is not the right word because I consider a lot of it to be incredibly bleak, but I am fascinated to see what happens and what comes next. But I guess for here, we'll leave it for now. You know what? Don't be as Delulu as him. Right? Because Delulu is not, in fact, the Salulu, but a little bit of delusional self-confidence, just like 10% of the Don Lemon delusional narcissism, egotistical nature. Get that for yourself, because you got to have a little bit of confidence to yourself to believe that you can, because you have to remember that most of these people out here are just faking it till they make it, like him. So, yeah, don't go too far or you'll end up like this, but believe in yourself, back yourself a little bit. Find somebody who loves you. In terms of a life partner, find somebody who loves you as much as Don Lemon loves Don Lemon, and you'll be good. When you find that person, marry them. because that's true love, baby. That's true love. Anyway, guys, we'll leave it there for this one. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you aren't yet, and do consider becoming a channel member. Don Lemon over his YouTube channel has like tons of members, one of the biggest memberships on all YouTube. So clearly he's doing something right, and I'm not. But if you want to support me, like all the Lemonheads support Don, hit the join button or click the link at the pinned comment or description to become a channel member now. It's the best way to support my work. And with that, guys, we'll leave it there for now and be back with more real soon.